Yeah. So today's topic is multidimensional arrays. Motion web development. Also, one thing, I have started revising the document. If you see here, for the CSS, I have changed the sequence and few things I have added over here also. Right? I hope you are reading these things. Okay. So we are in the JavaScript. And arrays, loops we have seen. Now in the arrays also we have seen, lot of arrays we have seen. And here we can say page multidimensional arrays. Multidimensional arrays. Multidimensional arrays. So what do you mean by multidimensional arrays? Can you tell me?
Multiple arrays we can operate.
Means?
Multiple arrays we can apply arithmetic operations.
Okay. Arithmetic operations.
Okay.
Multidimensional arrays. So we have studied single dimensional arrays.
Yes.
So first we will understand what do you mean by multidimensional arrays. First we will understand multidimensional arrays. Let me write the code. So let me write the code first. So here we have a day 35, new folder, and day 35. So we have day 35, and here I can say ARR 04, right?
Yes.
ARR 04.js. ARR 04.js. So when you talk about multidimensional arrays, const ARR is equals to, can you see this is a one dimension, 1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4, right? This is a one dimension. But array consisting of one more array, each element of the array is another array. Each element of an array, here you can say, each element of an array. So this is 0th element.
Yes.
Right? This is the first element.
Yes.
So each element of an array is another array. So this thing is called as multi-dimension. So this is the first dimension, this is the second dimension. First dimension is outer array, second dimension is inner array. So when you talk about the multi-dimensional arrays, multi-dimensional arrays in the JavaScript, see here, multi-dimensional arrays in the JavaScript are essentially the arrays that contain other arrays as elements. They can be thought of as a matrix with the rows and column, where each element in the main array holds the another array. Element represents another array. They can be thought of as a matrix with the rows and columns, where each element in the main array holds another array. This structure allows for the representation of the data in the tabular format with the multiple dimensions, making it easier to work with the complex and the structured data sets. So this structure allows for the representation of the data in a tabular format with multiple dimensions, making it easier to work with the complex and structured data sets. Okay. So when you talk about concepts, H1, here we can say concepts or multi-dimensional concept of multidimensional arrays. So you can remember multidimensional arrays as array of arrays. How do you remember? Array of arrays. And you can also remember nested structure. A nested structure. So let us see what do you mean by array of arrays. A multidimensional array is a logical extension to the basic array concept, right? It's an array only, but each element contains another array. A multidimensional array is a logical extension to the basic array concept, where each element of the main array can itself be an array. For example, 2D array can be visualized as a grid with rows and columns. 2D array, for example, 2D array can be visualized as a grid with the rows and columns. So each cell in the grid corresponds to an element that can be accessed using rows and columns indices. So here, now see how you can access 0th row. This is the 0th row. This is the first row. So this is the 0th row first element. So if I want to access this console.log ARR of 0, it will point to this one. And and this array is of length 2, inner array is of length 2. So here I can say another bracket and 1. So it will refer to this element. 0th row first element. Here we can say 0th row second element. Similarly, first row first element and first row second element. So this is the first row, this is the second row. 0th row first element, it is 1. 0th row second element, it is this 3. First row first element, first row 0th element, that is this 2. First row first element, that is the 4. Sorry, here 1. So here 0 and 1, I am sorry. 0 and 1, here 1 0 and 1 1. Correct? Because array index starts from 0. So that was a mistake I made. So here that's what this meaning. Each cell in a grid corresponds to the element that can be accessed using a row and column indices. Nested structure, multidimensional arrays easily involve nesting of the arrays within the array. Multidimensional arrays essentially involve nesting of the arrays within the arrays. This nesting, here you can say, this nesting can be extended. This nesting can be extended to more dimensions, leading to creation of the 3D arrays, 4D arrays, and so on. So presently it's a 2D array, correct? This is the 2D array we have, and so on. So these higher dimensional arrays used to represent, here you can say, these higher dimensional arrays are used to represent more complex data structure such as cubes, tensors, or other multi-indexed data sets. So concept of multidimensional arrays, it is arrays of arrays, and it comes with the nested structures. Now, what are the use cases? What are the use cases of these multidimensional arrays? So here we can say H2 use cases of multidimensional arrays. So first use case, here you can say, first use case, tabular data representation. Image processing. In the image processing we use these things. Game development. Scientific computing. Data analysis and visualization. And efficient memory allocation. So you use multidimensional arrays in these use cases. So when you say tabular data representation, multidimensional arrays commonly used to represent the tabular data such as matrices or the spreadsheet. If you want to develop application like spreadsheet, there would be the array of arrays. They allow for the organization of the data in a structured manner, making it easier to manage and manipulate the information. They allow for the organization of the data in structured manner, making it easier to manage and manipulate the large set of information. Whenever you have huge information, at that time that can be represented by means of multidimensional array. Image processing, multidimensional arrays. Image processing. So image is represented as an array. Remember that whenever you see image, so computer treats that image as an matrix internally. So they allow for, here you can say, image processing, multidimensional arrays. Just a minute. Multidimensional arrays are extensively used in image processing, where the pixels are often represented as elements of 2D or 3D array. Manipulating, here you can say, manipulating these arrays allows for tasks like image filtering, transformation, and analysis. Manipulating these arrays allows for the tasks like image filtering, transformation, and analysis. Well, in the game development, Many game development applications utilize the multidimensional arrays to represent boards, maps, and the grids. Many game development applications utilize the multidimensional arrays to represent a game boards, maps, or the grids. These arrays help manage. These arrays helps to manage a game state, track the position, and implement the various game mechanics. In the scientific computing also we use multidimensional arrays. In scientific computing, multidimensional arrays are essential for handling complex data sets and simulations. In scientific computing, multidimensional arrays are essential for handling the complex data sets and simulations. They are used in various fields such as physics, engineering, biology to represent multidimensional data structures like tensors, which requires array with more than 2 dimensions. Data analysis and visualization, multidimensional arrays play a crucial role in the data analysis. Means if you want to analyze the data, you have 1 million records in the Excel sheet. You have 1 million records in the Excel sheet, and you need to find out 1 million records in the Excel sheet, and you need to find out certain categories of the data. You need multidimensional arrays over there. Multidimensional arrays play crucial role in the data analysis and the visualization tasks. They are used to store and manipulate the multidimensional data sets, enabling the statistical computation, data mining, and graphical representations. Okay, efficient memory allocation. Using multidimensional arrays can be more efficient compared to using multiple one-dimensional arrays for the same purpose. They allow for contiguous memory allocation. Which can improve the performance and reduce the memory fragmentation. So understanding use cases of the multidimensional arrays will help you in understanding the concept. Correct? So if such scenarios will be there in front of you, you may think of using multidimensional arrays. Okay. Now, in the multidimensional arrays, we have seen what is the multidimensional arrays and the use cases. Now, we have seen how to create multidimensional arrays and how to access the elements in the multidimensional arrays. Just a minute. Okay. So we have seen how to create multidimensional array over here, and how to access the elements of the multidimensional arrays. How to access the multidimensional arrays. So here it is important, just a minute. So let's create the page. Creating multi-dimensional array. Creating multi-dimensional arrays, and so first we will see how to initialize the multi-dimensional array. So creating multi-dimensional array in JavaScript. So we already have seen, let's prepare the document. Creating the multi-dimensional array in the JavaScript involves initializing the array with the nested array to represent the multiple dimensions of the data. Nested array. Array contains another array, right? Then let's discuss how to initialize the 2D arrays and extend the concept of the arrays to higher dimensions like this. Let's discuss how to initialize and work with the 2D arrays and extend the concept to arrays of the higher dimensions like 3D and the 4D and beyond. So initializing 2D array. Initializing what? 2D array. So we already have created 2-dimensional array. Initializing 2D array. To create the, we already have done this. To create, you can say this is our 2D array. This is our 2D array. Or let's make array like this. Little bigger array. Yeah, array would be like this, 3 by 3, right? So this code initializes a 2D array with the 3 rows and 3 columns. So this code initializes the 2D array with the 3 rows and 3 columns. Each nested array represents 2D array. Each nested array represents a row in the 2D array. Can you see? Each nested array means this one represents row, this represents row, this represents row. You can then populate the 2D array. You can then populate the 2D array with the data or values that are relevant to your specific use cases, whatever. Now visualizing 2D arrays as a grid. So this is important concept. You can imagine 2D arrays or the 3D arrays, but you cannot imagine 4D arrays or 5D arrays in our brain. So this is a 2D, that's why we can imagine. Well, if there is a 3D, we can imagine. 4D also we can imagine, but 5D, 6D, we cannot imagine, right? A 2D array can be visualized as a grid or the matrix. 2D array can be visualized as a grid or a matrix with the rows and columns. Each cell in the grid corresponds to the 2D array. Each cell in the grid corresponds to an element in the 2D array. Cell, we discussed this also, right? This one, this part. This is the one cell. This is another cell. This is one cell, this is another cell. Each cell in the grid corresponds to an element in the 2D array. Visualizing the array in this way can help in understanding its structure. Visualizing the array in this way can help in understanding its structure and working with the elements more effectively. For example, in above case, here we can say, for example, the 2D array mentioned earlier can be visualized as follows. It would be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this representation clearly shows rows and columns of the 2D array, making it easier to understand the relationship between the different elements. Right. Now this part we didn't see now. Creating and working with arrays of the higher dimensions, 3D, 4D and so on. Let us try to create 3D array. So here we can say const 3D ARR. Well, JavaScript variables cannot start with number. 3D ARR. Now see, this is the first dimension. Okay, this is the second dimension. This is the second dimension, and inside that, this is the third dimension, 1, 2. So again I will tell you, this is the first dimension, this is the second dimension, and this is the third dimension. 1, 2, 1, 2, and here we can say 3, 4. Here we can say what? 3, 4. So how do we access this? Let's create one more element. Five, 6, 7, 8. So this is the 3D array. This is what? 3D array. Similarly, 4D array. So this cell also would be an array in that case. This cell also would be an array in that case. So 3 dimensions we have seen. So this array would be having the 4 dimensions. Const FDARR, 4 dimension array. This is the first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension. Right? This is what? Fourth dimension. 1, 2. So in case if you learn the machine learning, you will find such arrays are called as tensors. So tensor is another concept, but you can imagine like this: array inside array. Nesting can be way bigger. So extending the concept, which involves, extending the concept of the higher dimension involves adding more layers of nesting for each additional dimension, the way we have seen. For instance, 3D array can be visualized, as a cube with the multiple layers. Here is an example of this code, we can say 3D array. This is the 3D array. Similarly, 4D array. Similarly, you can create what? Similarly, you would nest the arrays one layer deeper, and then pattern continues for the arrays with even higher dimensions. So understanding how to create and work with the multidimensional arrays in JavaScript is crucial for handling the complex data structures, implementing the various algorithms and applications that require a representation of the multi-indexed data. So understanding of how to create and work with multidimensional arrays in JavaScript is crucial for handling the complex data structures and implementing the various algorithms and applications that require the representation of the multi-indexed data, right? Now, how do you work with the loops? How do you work with the loops? Let's try it. So we have a two-dimensional array, ARR. Let's remove this 4D array. Now 2D array, how do you do that? For let I is equals to 0, I is less than ARR dot length, ARR dot length, and I plus plus, I plus plus. And here you can say again for remember that this is the row, this is the row. Now this would be the column, so here we can say row instead of this row, row, row. Let column is equals to 0, 0, and column less than row of I dot length, right? And COL plus plus, COL plus plus. Two-dimensional array, first dimension, second dimension. Console.log, here we can say row, column, dollar call. Let's day 35 cd dot dot cd day 35, and here we can say node arr04.js. Okay, row of,
There is I is
row dot length, that's it. Row dot length. So ARR of row dot length, correct? So ARR of row means this represent a row dot length. See now, row 0, column 0, row 0, column 1, row 1, column 0, row 1, column 1. Just a minute. Yeah. Now for 3D, how do you write it? For let row is equals to 0, then row is less than td arr dot length, then
row plus plus
plus plus for let column is equals to
0
0, then column is less than td arr dot row dot length and
column plus plus
column plus plus. Then again for let cell is equals to 0 and cell less than td arr of td arr of row and column dot length and cell plus plus console dot log. Here we can say row column cell. Let's run the project. Can you see row 0 column 0 cell 1, row 0 column 0 cell 1. So interpretation would be like this. In the 3 dimension, this is the full array, multidimensional. 0th row, and this is what?
first row
First column, you can say. Second column, first column, second column.
second column
Or you can consider this is a row. Inside this is also row, you can consider, and this is a column. So cell would be this. Remember that in our case this is row, this is column, and this is what?
cell
Cell. Cell of this is element this. 3-dimensional array. This is how 3-dimensional arrays are working. Any questions? Any questions?
no sir
Okay, so for loop we have seen. Let us try to work with the for each loop. ARR dot, can you see all the elements are available?
yes
All the elements are available for each. So inside this each element would be considered as a row.
yes
And if you see console.log row, so let's write function normal simple for, and I will add all these things. Just format the document, simple for, and this also function access 2D. This is how you will access the 2D array, access 2D. So I will take this 3D array at the top. So both the arrays are initialized here. Now here we can say function here we can say function for each or ARR ops, array operations, and just call ARR ops. Let's clear it and run it. Can you see one? So it is printing these rows, right? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now here I can say ARR.map, ARR. For each, here, row. So row itself is a array, remember that.
Yes.
So you can write row dot for each again,
Yes.
row dot for each again, and column. So here we can say console.log, console.log, row, console.log. Here you can say column, column. Now run it again. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4? Row itself is an array, remember that.
Yes.
So here row itself is an array, and if you want to access elements of this things, if you go to the documentation of the arrays, array operations,
Yes.
if you go to the documentation of the array operation, can you see there is an index also?
Yes.
So here you can write index.
Yes.
So you will get index also, or we can say row ind, and to this we can say col ind, column ind, right?
Yes.
So you can access the column index, you can access the row index, so that you can access the element, so that you can access the elements of the row here also, row of 0, or if you don't want to write this thing, I'll comment this out. This also can be possible for each. I'll comment this also, but you try it, you uncomment and try it, row and ind, and over here console.log, row represents whole array, right? So row, here you can say dollar row of ind, row of ind. So this is the 0th row or first row. Let us see what happens. Can you see row 1, row 4? So it is accessing 1. Why it is accessing like this? What is row 1? Am I doing anything wrong? Row ind. Well, I think it is accessing this. Oh, got it. So index would be at the first 0, right? So row of 0 means what? Row of 0, it will give you this.
Yes.
Then row itself, if you print the row, I'll comment this, uncomment this, it will print an array. Can you see? So here you are saying row of 0, this is 1, and row of 2, which is nothing but this. So simply try to print over here. Let's comment this out. Comment this out. So just try to print ind, 0 and 1. So row of 0 is this, and row of 1 is this. Agree or not?
Yes, sir.
So at the first time, row would be this. Okay. For the first iteration, value of row is this. So row of 0 is 1. At the second iteration, value of row is this, and row of 1 is what? 4. And that's why this operation is giving you 1 and 4. Well, this is giving you 1 2 3 4, but let's comment this and this row of ind. So if you try to access something like this, that's what I wanted to show you. If you try to access something like this, you'll not get results like this, because row itself is a array of array. Row itself is an array of array, and that's why you need something like this: column index. So here you will get 1 2 3 4, each and every element you are trying to access. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the difference between call and call index? Can you tell me?
Column is a access cell,
Okay,
and column index is access the position of cells.
correct. It's a position of cell, and COL is actual value.
Yes.
What is COL? It is actual value.
Actual value.
Now, when you say there is a map function, how do you use a map function over here? Can you tell me how do you use a map function? I'll comment this. So we have, now consider that I want to flatten this array. What do you mean by flatten? I want to write a code. This is a 2-dimensional array, and I want to convert it to the 1-dimensional array. 2 4. You getting my point?
Yeah.
I want to convert 2-dimensional array to the 1-dimensional array. How do you do that? I want to convert 2-dimensional array to the 1-dimensional array. This operation is called as flattening. So ARR. First, normally how you will write? So here we can say function flatten. Flatten means what? I want to convert to the what dimension, right? So you will do something like this: const flattened, flattened. It's wrong spelling, or just a flat. ARR. So how do you do this thing? What the logic you will write to flatten the array? So ARR of 0 is an array, right? And ARR of 1 is an array. Both the things are array. Yes or no? Const this ARR. Sorry, const row 1. This is one array. Const row 2. This is also an array. So can we do something like this? Const or console dot log row 1 plus row 2. Can we do something like this? FLATTEN, flatten. Something weird is happening. This is not the expected thing, because the expected thing is not the array. So let's try to assign a flat array is equals to row 1 plus row 2. And here we can print what? Flat. ARR. This is something different. It is not the array. So let's check type of this flat array. What exactly this is? It is string. Can you see that? So this is it has called toString. It has called toString. So flat array is not an array. What is the type of this? String. But we need the flattened array, right? How to do that? So you can write for let I is equals to 0, I is less than ARR dot length I plus plus. Okay. Then one more for let j is equals to 0, j is less than ARR of I dot length I plus plus, sorry, j plus plus, and over here flat array of I. So here if you try to do something like this, I of j, again you are creating what? Let's do this thing. I of j is equals to flat of I of j is equals to ARR of I j. Let us see what happens. And here I can say flat array. Okay, console.log flat array. Yeah, because if you see here, this is a single dimensional unit. Can you see here? Hello? This is what? Single dimensional unit. If you try to do this thing, cannot the set properties of undefined setting 0 over here. And you are trying to do something, this is a double dimensional, two dimensional, right? Okay, so this will not work. If you do this thing, it will create 2D array again. It will create 2D array again. It will not flat the array. Now you got to know what do you mean by flat. Okay. Now let's do it in other way. Flat ARR dot push ARR of IJ. Now let us see. Can you see? You have flattened the array. So flat array is not consisting of multiple dimensions. Flat array is consisting of dimensions with 1D dimension. Only one dimensional array. Correct? Flatten. But this is a too much lengthy code. Can we do same thing in the for each? Let's see how to do in the form of for each. Flat array dot for, not flat array, ARR dot for each. ARR dot for each. This is your row arrow row arrow flat arr dot push, we can say row, and let us see what happens. It will create two-dimensional array. Can you see that? So you don't need to push the row. It is wrong. This is wrong. So row dot for each again, column, and here you need to push flat arr dot push column. Now print the flat arr. Can you see this thing? So whatever code you have written over here, same thing you have written over here, right? Now this is also lengthy process. Now if you remember, we have seen something called as spread operator. Do you remember spread operator?
Yes, sir.
No. Spread operator. If you see now, if you don't remember the spread operator, there is no point in telling all these things.
Yes, sir.
Nested operators, delete keys, unwrapping of the objects,
Yes.
spread
Yes,
operator.
Spread operator.
Can you see?
Yes.
Now the spread operator can be used with an array also. Okay. So this is the row. This is the row. So 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, row 1, 1, 2, 3, row 2. And flat array would be automatically flatten the array. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4? No require, you don't need to write the logic. So this is a 0th row. This is the first row. Just flat it. Flat means what? Unwrap it, unstructure it. So whatever the elements of this array would be printed, would be copied here. Whatever the elements of this array would be copied here. So this is a one way. Okay. But here you consider that there are 100 elements. So 100 times you cannot write row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, right? So this can be written by means of arr dot for each. arr dot for each. So const flat arr for each row arrow, and flat arr dot push, you can say the spread operator. Flat arr dot push 3, 1, 2, 3, and print it. Can you see again thing over here? So you have changed this code. Instead of going to the column, just spread it. Just what? Spread it. But see, there is a problem. You need to create the empty array like this if you want to go with the for each. If you want to go with the for each, you need to create this empty array. Let's comment it. How to do that then? Without third separate array declaration, arr dot map. Remember that it is going to return. What is the map function? For each will not return the array. It will modify. Yeah, so map is the transformation. It will create new array, right? So you just simply return dot row. So it is returning an object. Let's write this guy into this. Okay, still it is, if you can see, this one is a two-dimensional. So how do you do this thing? Can you imagine? Can you tell me the code? Hello? Can you tell me? How by using map function, how do you do that? How do you do that? Can you do it by means of map or not? Homework. So try to convert this using map function.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, by the way, you don't require all those things. If you just console.log flattening arr.flat and let's comment this code and run it, it will automatically flatten it. You don't require actually all these things, but I wanted to show you the logic, different ways of manipulating the arrays. That's why I have written this code, but this one function does. This is your homework. You need to try with the map function.
Map function. Yes.
You need to try with what? Map function. Now also you need to complete the matrix multiplication and other things.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Let's call it for a day. We'll meet on Monday. Okay. Array multidimensional arrays. I have pushed the code also. Let me stop the recording.